Hello my friends, let's start this update from the situation in Pokrovsk direction. So the Pokrovsk is mainly, as you may see, is in a gray zone. It was yesterday, it is today. According to our military, more than 200 of the Russian soldiers are now being located all around Pokrovsk, mostly in the southern part. And Russia continued to pour even more forces. Today they put their flag somewhere in this direction, right at the road. There is a big sign, a monument of Pokrovsk city itself, named Pokrovsk, and Russians managed to deliver their flag there not with the help of the infantry, but with the help of the drone. And our soldiers already kaputted that flag also with the help of the drone. Yeah, we have this video published, so this is the Russian flag out there, mounted, not by people. And here we have it in a drone camera, and it was kaputted. Yeah. Guys from Magyar Birds, they eliminated this flag. It happened at this exact place, and the Russians definitely want to create the picture that Ukrainian army has been encircled in Mirnograd, in Pokrovsk. Also in Kupiansk there is no way out for Ukraine, but no, it's just a bullshit which they spread. It's the Russian propaganda, because Donald Trump and even J.D. Vance, they both say that Russia is struggling on the front lines, they propel slowly, and now Putin wants to show that we encircle Ukrainian army, thousands of the forces. That's why today, during his visit to the military hospital, Putin proclaimed that Ukrainian army is being encircled, and his proposal is the temporary ceasefire to call journalists from entire world and also even Ukrainian journalists for them to confirm that Russian army managed to encircle Ukrainians in those key cities. Well, what can I say? This proposal comes from the Putin's mind bubble. He lives in his parallel reality. Well, in this case, I would suggest if Russians are really sure about encirclement of Ukrainian army, send own propaganda journalists out there. VGTRK, First Channel, Russia Today, RTR, NTV, someone, please send, because we haven't obtained any sort of the reports from Pokrovsk yet. Well, maybe because for Russians it's still kind of dangerous out there in Pokrovsk and Kupiansk. But for Putin everything is encircled because Gerasimov showed him some of the maps from the parallel reality. Yeah, I listened to this report where Putin said to the soldier, "Oh, you probably didn't know how your grandfather was fighting, but now you know. It means that the war is in our genes." He definitely stated that. So Putin is fully war-oriented. And we have this article from the NBC News. They rely to the official report from the United States of America. They see no sign Russia is ready to compromise on Ukraine. So Russia is full in as it was years ago. Putin wants to continue, it is clear for everyone, and probably in this video we're gonna figure out the main reasons why he wants to continue the war and not to freeze it just right now, because there is the proposal from the White House and Ukraine is ready to freeze the war at the current position, but Putin says no. Just bear with me, we're gonna review it after the frontline updates. The actual map is more or less like that. Yeah, the situation for Ukrainian army is difficult in Pokrovsk and also in Mirnograd, but it's not a disastrous encirclement even close. No, Ukraine still controls the roads, and Pokrovsk itself is in a gray area. It was not taken yet by Russians. Ukrainians have multiple of the positions inside Pokrovsk as well as Russians. It is geolocated, geo-confirmed, lots of the videos also with Russians here, with Ukrainians, different videos, confirmations. So Putin may kiss what he may kiss. His own PP is saying that Ukrainian army is encircled. No. Here in the northern area of Mirnograd, Russians actually moved. Yeah, it was yesterday, it is today. They had this attack, but it was repelled by Ukraine. Yeah, they expanded the gray area, but it's not effective strike. And let me show you why, because we have this confirmation. We have drone videos. You see, Russian infantry landed in this place, but later on they were spotted and Ukrainian army managed to kaput them in this building. Still, Russia is far away from deploying their main forces. Right, about the Dobropilya direction, and this is the settlement of Dobropilya. Russians tried to reach it in August, but were not successful. Well, Ukraine is mainly keeping the advantage in the northern or northwestern side, but Russians are attacking on the south and southwest, and here they were partially successful. They went, as I showed to you, to the local building, but were after all kaputted, and this attack, well, just partial success they have as well. Here Russians lost lots of the infantry vehicles but finally managed to land the forces in Moskovsk. In Vladimirovka and Shakhove, two unsuccessful Russian attacks. Yesterday I told about those crazy losses, absolutely. And if you didn't watch my report, please check out my recent update about this situation. It is just crazy. It is one of the most stupid attacks Russians ever did throughout this war. That caused them just losses, huge losses, without any sort of the territorial gains. And let's check out the maps from the Michael 73 analytic, because probably he might tell us what is happening actually on the ground with drone video confirmations. I like to follow him, he's very good analytic, and the link for his sources is in the video description just below. And even here you can see all of those Russian losses on the ground, their vehicles, yeah? This one that landed the infantry, which went over here, and later on Ukraine kaputted them in this building. It was geolocated and confirmed with a drone strike. Later on infantry had forcibly to leave the vehicle, and some of them were not even capable to reach that multi-story building. Later on Ukraine struck the building, but it's hard to tell whether Russians were flat-lined completely or not. Maybe a couple of the soldiers are still out there. The front lines, as you may see, are boiling. And it's just one occasion. Russians are also active in those outskirts of Mirnograd. So I would definitely say that Russians entered it. Ukrainian officials still cannot confirm it, but judging on this map and the videos coming, some of the infantry forces went there, but again it's the big gray area, as you might see. As well as Pokrovsk, it's the big gray area. But in general I must say that the destiny of Mirnograd and Pokrovsk, it's already understandable. Those will be occupied by Russia. Don't be surprised about that. I told about it 1 year ago. Then I expected Pokrovsk to be occupied very, very soon. But still Russians cannot occupy it fully after 1 year from my prediction. Crazy. I didn't expect that Russian army would move that slowly. And just imagine what losses Russians had during all of that time with all of those convoys, infantry attacks. And okay, Russians occupy Pokrovsk. It's, by the way, very important settlement. But what is next? Are they ready to go further and to vanish? Their troops continue this stupid special military operation? Just look at this picture. How many vehicles they lose without visible territorial gains? Well, at least in this northern direction. Here they expanded the gray area by a few meters. What's the use? Russians simply do not have those kind of the huge, enormous resources. Yeah, they still have more resources compared to Ukraine, but even for Russia, those losses are just crazy. Yeah, looking at this, I would say mobilization in Russia is just imminent, forced mobilization. Yeah, by the way, this is the Russian military map taken from some sort of the Russian propaganda source, where they already put in a red area the place with the Russian flag, but we understand that they deliver it basically with the help of the drone. So this entire area of Pokrovsk is the gray one. Even this one is the gray one, yeah. If there is the Russian flag, it doesn't mean that they control the situation on the ground. And you see, they want to encircle it. Yeah, there is a risk for Ukrainian army, but Russians cannot do it. No, especially in Rodinsk, they suffer. There was the Ukrainian counterattack with the BTR I showed you yesterday, so the forces were just repelled. To encircle Ukrainian group, they need to take Rodinsk, but without it, it's not possible. Zelensky also reported about the very difficult situation in Pokrovsk direction. However, in Kupiansk, for example, he said that Ukraine managed to stabilize the situation or stabilize defense, but Russians are already in the city of Kupiansk. In Kupiansk, I would say the main question goes not for the city itself, but for this entire Ukrainian group. As I mentioned to you, even yesterday, Russians cut all of the supplies to all of those villages and towns, so Ukraine will have to retreat from the place, whether we like it or not, but it's the law of physics. Without supplies, you cannot defend. Unfortunately, it's like that, but Ukraine may use the same forces to defend, for example, this part, not to let Russians outside from Kupiansk. For example, Russians could take this road for advancement during the winter times, so it's better to focus on this bridgehead that goes on the other shore of the Oskil River. Dnipropetrovsk, Donetsk and Zaporizhia crossroad. Here Russians take some of the ground, but Ukraine performed a counterattack. Oh, so Russians put their flag there, but lost positions. Happens as usual. And we have the confirmation from Analytic. We have it. So Ukrainian warriors were spotted, geolocated place. And we can watch the video itself. Yeah, this is the village, and Ukrainian forces are attacking Russian positions in the place. Okay, good. Oh, Ukrainian flag already instead of Russian. Which means that Russia may put all of those flags, but also in a gray zone, as you might see. And sometimes Ukraine, with a small counterattacks, may return the ground. But here, unfortunately, advantage goes for Russia after all. In this area, the main question goes for Pokrovsk, for defense of this very important settlement. Actually, the goal for this year, as I see from Russia, is to get it under control, and relatively they're already very close, less than 10 kilometers. One more video from the front lines. It is the latest one that was published by Sternenko, our volunteer, so Russian BMD, or yeah, this is Beam D4 was stopped and kaputted. From what I saw, there was no landing of the infantry, so probably the outdoors were just jammed. Alright, now to the kaboom news. We have the confirmation from the General Staff Command of Ukraine that Novopolsky refinery in Ulyanovsk yesterday was kaputted by Ukrainian drones or even missiles. Not just Ulyanovsk was kaputted, but also oil storage in Simferopol, Crimea. As it is reported, even Panzer 1S air defense was also hit. Here's one more video from Simferopol. On focus, focus, come on. Yay! There is the dark black smoke coming. Who teaches to film like that? Just film us the smoke. Like, why are you moving camera left and right? Well, I have to stop it. So one more oil storage facility is hit in Crimea. Before it was happening in Yevpatoria. That oil storage was just demolished, and it was the biggest one. And we see the second biggest after the one that was kaputted. So Ukraine is full in to hit Russian energy infrastructure, applying its own drone and rocket sanctions. Some of the mosquitoes are flying. Yeah, my air defense is not that great. Interesting, one of the Russian tankers in the Baltic Sea was forced to return back to one of the Russian ports after the new American sanctions were introduced. So Donny really hit Russia hard. Who would have thought? I'm still very, very surprised. That's why you don't see me now probably accusing Donny of something. I want to wait a little to see what is his next move, because Putin is still not willing to stop this war. And the main problem for Russia is how it deals with those sanctions applied. It's absolute nothing. So don't Trump, whatever you do, you will not influence us. And Donny took it personal. That's why United States is looking for intensifying the sanctions on Russia, cutting the Russian energy trade sector even harder. Yeah, United States could hit Russia with more sanctions to end Ukraine war, but first wants Europe to increase pressure. Great. Well, at least they're working in that direction, and I like it a lot. One of the biggest energy companies of India suspends Russian oil buy. The Economic Times report that it happened because of the new American sanctions. So for now at least, and it will be like that maybe for several months, those sanctions are really, really crucial for the Russian economy, but Putin still thinks that he can survive it, as well as Russia. So yeah, the main reason or reasons why Putin is not willing to stop this war, actually there are several of those. A Russian propaganda TV, Russia 1 and Solovyov explained the main one. They're not okay with a deal that was proposed by Donald Trump because it will raise questions inside the country, inside Russia. A deal after which they will say, well, you're trying to solve the tasks set by the commander-in-chief in December 2021, and what did you get? Those tasks are usually explained as the root causes of the war, told by Lavrov or by Putin himself, sometimes by Russian propaganda, even in this way. It is basically the Russian demand for NATO to leave all of the Eastern Europe and to let Russia what it wants to do in ex-Soviet republics, not just in Europe but also in Central Asia and Caucasus. So if Russia stops right now, ceasefire, current front line, instead of Finlandization of NATO, there's gonna be NATOization of Finland. That already happened, as Biden joked. Definitely it's like that, so Russia actually would lose more with this war than it potentially could gain with those Russian demands introduced in 2021. So basically they're openly saying like Putin will look like a fool. Millions of Russian army men flatlined or disabled. Finland, Sweden in NATO, Ukraine armed. The NATO alliance is stronger than it was before the war, even though it's not perfectly strong, as we understand with you. But it would be understandable for everyone in Russia also that the special military operation basically failed. So what did you achieve? What's the good in that? Yeah, what was the reason for this special military operation and all of those losses? And they afraid of Maidan, so of protests on Russian territory. That's the biggest fear of Putin. That is why he wants to continue this war. Yeah, there is the other reason. He wants to restore the Soviet or Russian empire, but the main goal for him is to reach something that he might say, okay, we wasted so many resources, so many lives, but we achieved something interesting. Yeah, we occupied Ukraine. But if he stops now, there could be some of the questions to Putin personally, as Russian propaganda says. If you look at the situation from their perspective, definitely it's the dead end for Putin. He should continue the war. And if there is the question for mobilization of the Russian men entirely, he would do it. He would do it, or will do it, should I tell. One more reason for Putin to continue this war is that his army is busy in Ukraine. Imagine hundreds of thousands of the Russian troops coming back to Russia with weapons, because it would be very hard to trace all of the firearms, at least firearms. There could be some of the infantry fighting vehicles and tanks, as it was already with Prigozhin's army, and Putin was not capable to control even that. Actually, Putin was damn lucky to stay in power, and Prigozhin is, after all, he's a stupid guy. He could put his name in the history as the guy who destroyed the Russian Federation, but no, he decided to turn back and was flatlined later on. But I do not exclude those black swans coming once again. Then Soviet Union lost the war in Afghanistan. There were lots of the guys coming back to Russia, also to Ukraine, like ex-Soviet republics in general. And it was connected to the spike of the crime rate. The same picture was in Russia after the Chechen wars. Definitely it backfired for Russian society, Russian economy, not from the good perspective. And imagine the scale of this war. So Putin afraid to see this uncontrolled armed crowd in Russia. That's why he wants to keep those busy in Ukraine, especially knowing the attitude of the Russian command towards their own soldiers. I saw already tons of those videos how they basically torture their own soldiers. Crazy. And one more big reason for Putin to continue this war is that he is very important. Then this war isn't going. Everyone wants to call him, everyone wants to meet him. He just feels more important, and for sure he has this narcissist complex as, by the way, Donald Trump. And the reason number 4 already, I guess it's the fourth one, that Putin sincerely believes that he is able to reach his goal of this special military operation, or goals that he put in 2022. He is really paranoid about that one. He lives again in his own reality, in his bubble, and he likes that situation in general, which means that he doesn't want to stop. And stopping at the current front lines is always the option on the table. Trump is agreeing on that, Ukraine is agreeing on that. So this variant for Putin is always out there, ready to go. So why not to risk with something? And if it doesn't work, like some sort of the assault operation, well, let's agree on Trump's scenario, and Zelensky said he's ready, so there will be ceasefire for some time. So while Putin still thinks that he has some of the resources to continue this war, he will continue. Putin again with his nuclear sickness. He now tells about the Poseidon, a Russian nuclear torpedo. As Russian propaganda says, it is able to create some sort of the tsunami wave to wipe out, for example, England. That is what they say. Yeah, not England, but entire United Kingdom. Well, I mentioned it already, but I'll tell you once again that it doesn't matter. This Poseidon or Burevestnik cruise missile or something else, it doesn't matter. Everyone understands that Russia has capabilities to destroy this world several times. With its ICBMs that are very hard to intercept, they have several warheads, try to intercept each of them. It's not possible. So this Poseidon, it does not impress anyone in the West. No one is commenting this stuff except Putin himself. Or if there are some of the comments, they say what I tell you, that it's simply useless. Russia already has entire capabilities to nuke everything on this planet. The question is whether Putin is ready to use it. I think not. After all, judging on what we know about this dictator, he's not willing to finish himself off like that by starting nuclear war. It's not the question of the technical capabilities of Russia to do it. They already have this capability. Even from the Soviet Union time, they had it. They just took it from Ukraine, and Ukraine is looking for security guarantees, but no one cares really about that one for Ukraine, which is kind of pity, and Ukraine just gets the partial military support compared to what it is really needed to withstand the conventional aggression from the country like Russia. So those fairy tales about torpedoes, missiles, and so on, they do not really matter. What matters is whether Russia is ready to use what they already have. No, they are not ready. Again, multiple of the drones were spotted above army bases in Belgium in this case. Oh, they fly already for the second night, and no one is doing a freaking thing to shut those down. Come on, Europe, NATO, drones are flying over your bases. Shoot them! For some reason, no. Only over Estonian military base, the drone was recently shut down. I think it happened a couple of days ago. There was the report about this case, but still they couldn't find the debris of the drone, which is kind of interesting, and I think Russia is involved here. Maybe not just Russia, maybe China. Yeah, it's terrible that there is no action against those drones over military bases. Come on. Yeah, I'm very dissatisfied with this weak reaction, but nevertheless, we'll see how it goes. My friends, special thanks to Patreon supporters and those who support me on membership of the channel. The link for my Patreon is in the video description just below. For membership, you can press join button somewhere here or there. I don't remember. Somewhere below. Thank you again so much. Without your support, my job wouldn't be possible. This content wouldn't be possible. So thank you very, very much. And if you don't have the opportunity to support me in that way, you can just press your like to this video and subscribe for the channel to move this video around YouTube algorithms. It is also crucially needed for my channel. Many thanks for that as well. Now, my friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.